Absolute pleasure to have you here in Toronto.
Thank you.
I think having a show like this completely perfectly planned for Black History Month is a perfect opportunity to share the culture. Your artistic side has been going on for as long as anyone can remember. You started very young, and I wanted to know how did your adventure in this field begin? Is there an element of the art that you like that made you say, okay, I want to do this?
You know, I think it was my upbringing. You know, my folks. In my household growing up, my mother, who was really my cousin but raised me as mother, and her father, who was my great uncle, they really raised me, and so there was always a piano, there was always music, there was always singing. She was an English teacher for many years. She also had a group called the Afro-Americans, speaking of Black History Month, and they would do poetry and song having to do with the African-American tradition. So this is what I grew up hearing in the house, them rehearsing and playing songs on the piano, teaching me songs, and then I got interested in music. My mother realized, because she played piano for our church as well, then she realized that I had an ear for music. So that was my venture in, and then it just sort of built from there. I had a soprano singing voice, so I sang in the church choir. My mother taught me my first song when I was a wee lad, as we say, was That's Entertainment. So she would play, and I would dance around, like imitate Fred Astaire and all those things that she used to watch. You know, so in a way it was sort of destined to happen, but it was always sort of, my curiosity of these things were always embraced by the people who raised me.
Wow, that's quite a adventurous path that you've taken. For your whole career, of course, every career has obstacles, and for your career particularly, have there ever been any obstacles that you found either challenging or something that you wanted to pay more attention to?
Absolutely. I was born completely bow-legged, meaning I was born with my legs like this. You know, I could have ridden a horse, but you know, maybe not done a grand jeté. But anyway, I'm joking. But I had to have braces put on my legs to make them straight. So it started out as a challenge, you know, for me. So I've been dancing my way through life in one way or another. So being an artist is, in a way, it feels like a safe place for me because I get to express how I feel through choreography, through now being the artistic director of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, through 30 of the most miraculous dancers. Dance is everything for me.
Right. And speaking of the Alvin Theater, when basically Ms Jameson came up to you and said, I'd like you to fill my shoes, I'd like you to take this legacy on, how was that reaction like? How was that feeling like?
She said, I'd like you to fill my shoes, and I said, I'm not so good in heels. No, no, she didn't. That's my joke. She and I have this joke about the filling shoes part. No, because you know what I think Ms Jameson recognized in me, since I've been choreographing for the company for many years now. I think she recognized that I had my own shoes, and she appreciated my, as she called it, singular voice, and. I think that's why she chose me, because she felt that I could take the company into the future. Otherwise, I would not be sitting here. And so it's a wonderful thing that I've been given this opportunity that I've been given.
Wow, that's quite cool. So of course she has been a special individual in your life, so has your family, but there also has been another individual, which is Ms. Caroline Adams, who has been your mentor. Having a mentor like her in your life, how has that sort of added or changed your perspective for your career?
Well, you know, I'm who I am because of teachers, and when you think of the way I started out, being taken in by my great aunt and uncle, and then their daughter, who I was speaking about, who took on the role of being my mother, was a teacher. That was what she did, you know, and so I think because of that, I've always known the power of education. And when I say education, that could sound a little clinical, but I really mean mentoring. When you I studied martial arts. That has
Same
a
here.
that has a big component.
Right.
You know, the way
Right.
you deal with sensei. You know, the
Right.
ritual of passing on information.
Right.
And I have always been, as a young person, I absorb everything.
Right.
You know, especially when I think I need it. You know, I really listen well.
Right.
I think of my whole body as an ear, as a dancer, as a choreographer.
Right.
And I take in. And when people are brilliant, I want to grab a little bit of that brilliance. And when I studied with Carolyn Adams at the Juilliard School when I was a student, I knew she was brilliant the moment she opened her mouth. And so I have hung on to her words for a very long time now. And we still talk for about an hour, you know, every other day, you know, and she still challenges me just by listening to the way she thinks and puts down ideas. So that's important for me, and Judith Jameson does the same for me.
That's quite special. And speaking of teachers, coming from a student background myself, I understand that sometimes you just need to hear from other people to continue going forward.
Yeah.
You have been a mentor as well as a sort of teacher,
Mm-hmm.
as well as a speaker for so many hundreds of people.
Mm-hmm.
If there was some advice you would give to students who want to become a professional dancer or enter the arts in general, essentially, what would that be?
I think you have to remain curious, and you have to remain open. Now, that doesn't mean you're just easily led. There's a quote that said, I would never lead you into the path of righteousness, because if I could lead you in, someone else could lead you out. You have to come there on your own. You know what I mean? I was always self-motivated. My mother reminded me of that yesterday when we spoke on the phone. I always had a sense that I wanted to take hold of this. You know, I wanted to own this.
Right.
So I always try to tell young people, don't wait for somebody to mentor you. Don't wait for somebody to advise you. Part of being a good student is asking the right questions, not only of the person in the front of the room, but asking the right questions of yourself. Am I doing the best I can? Do I love what I'm doing? Am I being challenged? And if not, how can I challenge myself, you know? So that we do, let's say, in dance we have an arabesque. Most people know what that is. It's when your leg is impossibly in back of you, where it's anatomically not supposed to be. But anyway, you have to look in that mirror. A lot of dance is really facing yourself, if you think about it. There are often mirrors. Some people don't look in them. But when you look and you see yourself reflected, and you see that arabesque and it's not as high as you want it to be, or it's not, the leg isn't as straight as it want to be, you have to fix it. You know, no one can walk over and just hold it there while you're on stage. So we as dancers, we know something about sort of facing ourselves and dealing with what we see in the mirror every day.
Wow, that is some absolutely fantastic advice. I really am wishing you the best of luck with this show. It is quite an inspiration to see a company share the culture with so many millions of people around the world, and I personally as an artist do appreciate that. I wish you the best of luck in the whole tour and also your stay here in Toronto.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having this chat with me.
Thank you.